55.
Sorry, I was talking. What was that?
255. Praise Him, Jesus our blessed Redeemer. Sing, O earth, His wonderful love proclaim. Hail Him, highest archangels in glory. Strength and honor, give to His holy name. Like a shepherd, Jesus will guide His children. In His arms He carries them all day long. Praise Him, Jesus is excellent greatness. Ever in joyful song. Praise Him, Jesus our blessed Redeemer. For our sins He suffered and bled and died. He our rock, our hope of eternal salvation. Hail Him, Jesus the crucified. Sound His praises, Jesus who bore our sorrows. Love unbounded, wonderful, deep and strong. Praise Him, tell of His excellent greatness. Praise Him, ever in joyful song. Praise Him, Jesus our blessed Redeemer. Now in Hosanna's ring, Jesus Savior, reigning forever and ever. Crown Him, prophet and priest and king. Christ is coming, over the world victorious. Unto the Lord belong. Praise Him, tell of His excellent greatness. Praise Him, ever in joyful song. Amen. All right, the next one is 446, 446. Be thou my gate. Be thou my vision. Brian, would you like to pray over the offering first, please? The offering. Thank you.
Precious and precious Heavenly Father, I do indeed love you and thank you, Father, for the day, Lord. We thank you that once again we can be here in your house. And Lord, we just pray now that those who give for the faith promises, Father, that you will bless those that give and bless the offering, Father, that may be used to support our missionaries in the field. And we just love you and praise you and give all honor and glory to thee. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
579. Well, stand together, please. 579.
All right. Pray for Shalom Sundays. Got a plural one coming up. There in the first and second weeks of February. Looking forward to it. Yeah, so looking forward to it. Looking forward to having the men. Looking forward to having the women for the first time. That'll be an honour. I like Shalom Sunday. I was saying this to someone today. One of the things I like about Shalom Sunday is our whole church works together usually on that day to be a blessing. It's like everyone's working towards the one goal of being a blessing to these men, and in this case these women that have come along, whether it's cooking something or singing in the choir or greeting someone at the door. It's like everyone is doing it. I love watching our church as a whole minister on those days, and they're great opportunities to minister to those men, and as you seek to be a blessing, those men are always a blessing back. So it's a good day. So pray for that, pray for the preaching, pray for the singing. And I'm just going to have a good day in the house of God, both on the first and the second Sundays of February. February. Any prayer requests tonight? Yeah, the missionaries and the sick. Yeah, our missionaries. The 10 families that we get privilege and honour to support. I'm sure we'd love to do more, but yeah, for sure. Any other prayer requests this evening? Jeff.
I was just thinking if we can pray for Charles to maybe come into our service every now and then. Just some prayer for Charles to come to church.
Yep. No, it would be good. Yeah, sure. Good to see him on Monday night. He's always excited, always a smile on his face, and a bit of a laugh and a chuckle, yeah. Isaac. Yeah, you got to say again. It doesn't work unless...
Work for the people?
There you go. Yeah. Yep. There's work, yes.
The lost jobs and the Dentfords and Mrs. Jackie.
Yes. Yep. So, yeah, who was the last one? Mrs. Jackie. Miss Jackie, yeah, yes. And I'm sure, and Mr. Tony. Yeah. Yes, for sure. Hopefully they'll be back. Kim.
My mum is sick in Canada, so just keep her up in prayer.
Yep.
Don't know what she's got, but she's just been sick.
Yeah, I heard Michaela and Matthew, Michaela Harris, or not Harris anymore, Michaela has COVID, and James and Georgia have COVID as well. And my brother, brother-in-law, Danny. Danny has just tested positive again. This is the second time. He had it last year and then got it. Tested positive yesterday. So he said, I asked him if it was better or worse. I was asking Annalise. And some people that got it the second time said it was much minor the second time. Danny says he feels like he's actually getting what is in the news. Like last time he was sick and he really felt like it was pretty bad. But he said this time it's worse again. So just pray for Danny. I appreciate the prayers there. And then Kim's mum. So sometime this year, COVID will be in here. We'll give it the 6th. But yeah, so especially if that Ben guy keeps working at the Hilton and hangs out with those security guards, tell ya. Oh, the Hyatt. Oh, it's not your hotel? Oh, it is your hotel. Oh, but it was, yeah, so you're right. It was the Hyatt. Yeah. It's your, oh, you were working at the Hilton? Yeah.
Anyway, can you please pray for my wrist, that it will heal, because I have this for a couple of months now and it's really beginning to really
hinder.
Yeah, so frustrating, and that I'm saying the physiotherapist, and hopefully the physio will help this, and it's making progress.
Yeah, let's pray for Fee's wrist.
Please.
You want to see her with the... You're not wearing it tonight. You got to...
I've got the physio is putting, band-aids because
Yeah,
it's
but,
too hot to
the-
wear
yeah.
with the other one.
The wrist is really causing her some grief. Has done for a little while now, and the physio's trying to do some stuff there. So it's basically out of action, the whole wrist. Ben.
Just pray for my friend Chris.
Yeah.
He's new to knowing Jesus, and just talking to him over the week, Satan's like really like coming down on him hard, like in his life. A lot of things are happening all at once for him, and I just just pray that he can, God will just hedge him
Yep.
and overcome it, because it's actually quite confronting, like how hard like Satan comes at some people, and for him it's like a lot of his past is being dredged up again, and so I just pray that God will hedge him, and it will just remind him that to lean on God and
Yeah.
not the understandings of this world. So
Yep.
yeah, thank you.
So Chris is a friend of Ben's. If you haven't been following the story, that got saved just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, real soon, and he's been trying to find a church for him over there, and he's back in New Zealand. So do pray for Chris, and brand new Christian, and Ben would love to get him over here for a little time, just to spend some extra one-on-one and get some grounding into his new faith. So just pray for Chris if you'd do that. Gemma.
Pray for anyone that's not saved.
Yeah. For anyone that's not saved. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mum.
I just keep Wendy and Rob up there. I mean, Wendy for just what she's going through at the moment, but also Rob. I mean, Susan, Wendy's sister, is no longer there. She went back home before Christmas. So,
Okay.
it's a hard thing on both of them.
Yeah.
Just Rob's health's not the greatest either.
It's not.
So,
Yeah. There's a few people that I'd be concerned of with COVID over here. He might be one of them. Jesse.
I have another job interview on the 17th, which is next Monday. So I'd really like you to pray for that, because it's getting close to the start of the year now.
It is.
School year. That's it.
When's the interview?
Monday the 17th.
17th. For sure. Do pray for that. Rhiannon.
Some of you might know that my grandma Joan passed away on Sunday, and so the family just trying to organize everything and clear out, and also I've shared the gospel with them as well. So just eternity, death, it's final. So just prayer for their hearts that they can be soft. And I do have one aunt that's saved, and my mom as well, with her walk with the Lord isn't very great, so just pray for my mom as well. She got a new roommate, seems to be fine, and Skylar's still living with her. Other than that though, my family's spiritual health
Yeah.
is my main.
So Tracy.
Tracy's the saved.
Yeah. So if you didn't catch that, so Rhiannon's grandma Joan passed away. Some of you, she came out about 10 years ago. She's 78 then, so if you met her, you'd remember her. She was quite the personality. Just talking about two ladies that passed away at the in a relatively short amount of time. When she met Kath, she said, "Are you a dog or a rat?" And she was like, "Oh, what?" And that's how Joan, her grandma, and she was guessing her age, and she was all about the 12 Chinese things. So she would tell you tell her like, "What year were you born?" And like her introduction is how she broke the ice, shattered the ice, but ask you what year, and then she'd be like, "You're a dog." It's like, what? You're a rat. She was a personality. So, but anyway, she went on to she passed away on Sunday, our time. So, but like I said, pray for the family. Tracy, Rihanna's mum's there. She's not really walking with the Lord, but Tracy, is in there, and she's a Christian, and she does have a stronger testimony. So just death softens people, at least for a moment, when they're faced with mortality. So just pray for that situation. Connor.
Canada.
Aaron's in Canada. Yeah.
Pray for him. His life that he's setting up over there. Oh, he's moved there, yeah. The thrushes.
Yeah, do pray for the thrushes. They're not doing a funeral. So I know people are asking about a funeral. They're not doing a funeral. They're going to do a memorial service. Which is, anyway, but I think they're going to do it next week, or I don't know, it was a bit vague, to be honest. Yeah. So, I know a few people were asking about that. So, but do pray for them. Do pray for the thrushes. Yeah. Any other prayer requests? He was going there. Yeah. Jude.
Okay, brother Ken. Ken. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go catch up with him again.
Miss him.
Yeah, I'm going to catch up with him here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
Sort of as a follow-up on a follow-up, but
And brother
yeah.
Carl as well. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Pray on. Carl, yeah. Carl was the other one that he mentioned there. Any other prayer requests this evening? All right, take your Bibles, turn to Proverbs chapter number 12 here for just a few moments. Come February, we're going to start in the book of Daniel, and idea is that the first week we'll do sort of an overview of the book, just a basic overview, and then the next week we'll start with chapter 1 and then chapter 2 and just do overviews of the chapter, and then go the way through. So Daniel, you could spend a long time in Daniel, and there is a lot there and it sort of lays the foundation. We don't want to go down massively deep in our study through the minor prophets, and there's some pretty deep stuff in the prophecies. We want to get a surface sort of view over, and so we get an overall working. What is the book about? So Daniel, then Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah. When were they? Who did they preach to? Which kings do they line up with? What was their overall message? What are they saying? Because each book has its own theme. So we're going to try and do that, so you at least have a working understanding of those, and then it's going to take us a while to go through that. I think there's like 82, 84, 86 chapters or something like that, from Daniel all the way through the end of Malachi, and then maybe we'll jump into Revelation, maybe. But that's a little bit of a deeper one, but just some things to come, what the Bible says about the things to come. All right, Proverbs chapter number 12. I'll read through and then I'll take some feedback here and then some thoughts before we break up into prayer. Chapter 12 verse 1 says this: Whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. A good man obtaineth favour of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices will he condemn. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of righteous shall not be moved. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. The thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be commended according to his wisdom, but he that is of a perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoureth himself and lacketh bread. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. The wicked desireth the net of evil men, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. A man shall be satisfied with good of the fruit of his mouth, and recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. A fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man covereth shame. He that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. There is that speaketh like the piercing of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. There shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbour, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious. In the way of righteousness is life, and in the pathway thereof there is no death. Some Proverbs from Solomon. Some comments, some thoughts, some observations. Now that Connor's all rested from the prayer requests, he's ready to go again. Any wisdom to add to the wisdom? Waiting on, hanging on Daniel, a couple of weeks away. We're getting there. Yeah, Daniel will be good. Daniel is like a swimming pool. It has a shallow end and a deep end. And you start out in the shallows and it gets pretty deep pretty quickly. The first half of the book is like, oh yeah, this is great. And then the second half of the book is, hang on, am I still reading the same book? That's very, we're looking forward to it. Rhiannon.
Okay, it's just a very small thing. But verse 11, he that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. It just reminds me of like social media. He that followeth vain persons is void of understanding, following, like influencers and following people that are going on camping trips and having their best lives and traveling the world. And just looking at that is, when we watch that, it seems all good and nice and innocent, but it's just like lacking understanding. We shouldn't be wasting our time with things like that. And then just before it says, he that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread. What if we till our Bible and we be satisfied with God's word, the bread of life, instead of tilling our time with the influencers and things like that and just having that vainness. So I think it's just a matter of like putting your time and your energies into things that glorify God, that's going to help us to draw closer to God and to glorify Him, instead of things that are just vanity and they puff up and they're like a vapor and they're gone.
Yeah. There's, I was trying to think of an illustration as you were saying that. I guess it comes back to the end result. Some people go do the work yourself is what he's basically saying, I think, is go do it yourself. You can follow vain people and they promise you all this stuff, but just go do the work. That's a half formulated thought as you were saying that. Ben.
Verse 23, a prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness.
Okay, I'll compare it with my notes up here. Go ahead.
Well, to me, that's just a lot of wise men will sort of hold their tongue, whilst foolish people, like, they love the sound of their own voice. And I guess, like, when you look at the wisdom of the world, when you become saved, when people start proclaiming what they know and what they think they know, you're sort of like, that just doesn't make sense. It's utter foolishness. Like, especially now with like gender neutrality, and it's like, well, a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and when they're trying to say now like, oh no, it all depends now on how you feel for the day, that's foolishness. And I guess like, and a wise man sort of just bides his time. He bides his time and he holds his mouth, and he just will bring in the knowledge first before he proclaims it out, you know. But that's what I get from it anyway.
Yeah. No. Yep. Yeah. Any other observations out of this, or some thoughts from some of these proverbs? I remember one person preaching when I was in Bible college, preached out of Proverbs 12. Where is it? 24, the verse after that one, where it says, "The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute." And the statement that I remember that they made, and I think I wrote it in one of my Bibles, not this one, but the one I had at the time, is that he said, it's not by luck that the diligent is promoted. And you see someone who is diligent, who does their work, that goes about it. You know what? It's not. They go ahead in life. They go up the chain. They're picked for promotion, and so I mean it's been like that for centuries and millennia. That the hand of the diligent shall bear rule. It's work. It's tilling the ground yourself rather than following in on those vain people. Cahill?
Yeah, I just have a question about one of the verses. It's kind of one of those ones that I've always read through and not fully comprehended it. Verse 9, "He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoureth himself and lacketh bread." Can you impart some wisdom onto me?
I was thinking about that verse.
Yeah,
All I can think of when I was looking at it was, I don't even know the illustration, but Donald Trump, right? This is random as all get out. But he's despised, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, he actually is a billionaire. Like, as much as he's despised, he's a billionaire, and he's actually laboured hard in life. But the people that promote themselves and give themselves honour, but they actually have nothing in life. Is that what he's saying? I'm not sure that someone says how great I am. Maybe that's also Donald Trump, but bad illustration. Yeah, pride. I don't know. I'm. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't know either. You have Bridges up there?
Yeah.
What does Bridges say on that one? Have a read of Bridges, and then come back to us.
I think of he that is despised, like as if a Christian is despised in the world, but he has a servant, which is meant to be, oh, you probably shouldn't have a servant. So, but is better than he that honoureth himself, which is really what a worldly person would do, and someone that lacks bread, but you would look on someone with pity. You would think they're the better person because they're going without bread, but they really honour themselves. So the one that's despised might be the more righteous one, even though he has a servant, than someone that honoureth themselves.
Yeah. You know what this proverb makes me think of? Another proverb where it talks about the proverbs and their dark sayings. I think it's a dark saying. It's an interesting one. Any other verses? What does Bridges add any light to that? He's usually. Oh man, Bridges is good. Charles Bridges. If you want a good commentary on the Book of Proverbs, Charles Bridges. He was like this 18th century Anglican preacher, but he's very good.
What he's trying to say is maybe that despised means humble, like humble in that he doesn't have a lot of finances and money and whatever. So he that is like actually doesn't have a lot of money. He'll have to say that.
I don't know. You have to. Yeah. Yeah, that helps. Yeah, I don't know. Kyle's got all the answers back there. I can see it on the screen. He's got the dictionaries and the commentaries all open up there. Yeah, it's an interesting verse. I don't know. Maybe it'll pique someone's interest to go study it later on this week. Come back with an answer next week. I don't really know that one. Like I said, I did stop and think over that one as I was reading through it. Like I said, I came to someone who actually had something. Verse 15. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. Yeah. Yeah, so there's some. Wish we could just, hey Solomon, just come and explain some things to us here. I know you knew what you were talking about. Sometimes I don't always. Any other comments, thoughts before I move on quickly here with what I got before me? Jeff?
I just wanted to mention what I thought of when I saw verse 25. Heaviness in the heart of a man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. Just because I've been listening to those sermons that you put on the card that's at the front door there.
Oh yeah.
About most of it's like about casting your care onto the Lord,
Yep.
and just giving it all to Him.
Yep.
So it was. I just wanted to mention that because I've been listening to those just this week, and
Yeah.
it's really important. I've been learning the importance of giving, just mentioning your worries, that you don't have an answer to them, but just tell God that you've got these worries and let them go.
Yeah.
Let Him take them on. And
Yep.
yeah.
And the other verse that ties in with verse 25, I can't remember where it is in Proverbs, but it says, a merry heart doeth good like medicine. Like someone coming along, it just you can cheer people up with words, and you can actually make them stoop with words. Like there is power in the tongue. Verse 16 as well goes along with verse 23 that Ben made mention of. But verse 16 says, "A fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man covereth shame." And then verse 23 says this, "A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness." And when I was reading through it, I sort of stopped and was thinking over those ones because they're similar in the sense of covering and concealing. That a prudent man covereth, like a fool's wrath. There's another verse that says, "He that is soon angry lacketh wisdom," or lacketh understanding. And dealeth foolishly. But there's one where it says, "He that is soon angry lacketh understanding." And then dealing foolishly as well as another one. And he says here, so the natural response at times in situations is just to give a person what they think, what you think, and to just say what you're thinking. He says that's a fool's way is presently known. They know it in the present what a fool is thinking and what their emotions are. But he says a prudent man, someone who can think ahead and think, you know what, I'm not going to live in just the moment and in the present. A prudent man covereth shame. Because wrath and shame often go hand in hand, that when you get angry, it just brings about shame. It doesn't bring honor to you, it brings shame to you. And so he said, a prudent man covereth shame by just shutting the mouth and just not saying anything and concealing it, which is a similar idea of what 23 is saying when he says, a prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. That someone said that it's better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and prove it. That just the mouth will tell you what a person is, whether they're a wise man or whether they're a fool. One of the last verses of one of the chapters, it says, even a fool when he holdeth his tongue is considered wise. So it's a shortcut. It's the shortcut to wisdom is just zip the lip. Don't say anything, and people think, like Ben back there, stroking his beard of a wise man. He's saying, and that's what he was doing that as he was saying it. But isn't it true? I could picture that's what a wise man sort of does. Is sits quietly, strokes the beard, just is contemplating and listening to what's taking place, but not actually putting input in. And it is like you just sit there and be quiet, and people think, oh, what's this guy had to say? He's obviously important. He's not saying anything. It's just this weird kind of way, but it's from concealing knowledge. It's like covering it. In 1 Corinthians, in the charity chart, and that in chapter 13:7. Do I have it down? Can't remember what verse 7 is now. I'll have a look at it. 1 Corinthians. Have a look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13. I beareth all things. All right, beareth means to suffer. It means to keep it within. That's what it means to bear. So when you beareth all things, it's like you might hear something, you want to say something about it, but to bear it means to just to keep it bottled up inside. And Elihu, when Elihu was sitting around that fireplace, so there was a fireplace, but in Job, the three friends were just speaking their mind, right? Elihu, even though he was young, he actually just concealed his thoughts and his knowledge, and he says, you know what, it's not really my place to say. But he tells us when the opportunity did arise to speak, he tells us I'm full of matter. He says, I'm like a bottle of new wine ready to burst. And what he means by that, that they would put the wine, the new grape juice, into those leather bags or what they're called, put them in. Well, as that fermented and gave off gas, it expands. And if you have to keep changing it to another bag, otherwise that bag bursts. He says, that's what I feel like. The words and the things that I have to say were just expanding inside of him, that he just needed a release valve to say it. But even under all of those conditions, he still kept his mouth shut until it was the right time to speak. And when the opportunity arose, then he was like, and spoke what was building up inside of him, but he concealed it. And that's what he's saying, that the prudent man conceals that knowledge rather than just saying everything and wanting to say everything. Another proverb that comes to my mind is a foolish man speaketh all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till after. So there are times where you just want to say something, and that's what a fool does. A fool speaks all his mind. Everything that goes through here ought not come out here. Just because you think it doesn't mean you should say it. And you might be in a situation and someone is there, and that's where discretion and discernment and all of those graces come in to know, right, I might be thinking this and this person might be just saying something completely ludicrous, and you're thinking in the moment, man, and you're laughing maybe in your mind, like, man, that is not true. But he says, just conceal it. Not everything that you think has to be said. There comes to know a time. In Ecclesiastes 3, there's a time to speak and a time to cease from speaking, or however he says it. There's a time to talk, there's time not to talk. There's a time to speak, there's a time not to speak. And these are simple things. Solomon says in Ecclesiastes that a wise man knows when to speak and when not to speak. That's part of what wisdom is. Wisdom gives you all these things. When you get wisdom, you get discernment, you get understanding, you get prudence that comes along with it, and a prudent man concealeth knowledge. It's like, you remember Get Smart with the cone of silence that would come down? Right. That's what charity does. Charity gives us a cone of silence, and prudence comes down with this cone of silence, and so it sort of guards us from speaking and saying everything that's on our mind. And there was always a bit of slapstick comedy in that, where he'd just go and let loose, and then they say, sorry, it's not working. And but it's always Get Smart. But the cone of silence, and that's what it is. It's concealing knowledge. It's not speaking everything that's on your mind. And we talked about Trudy on Sunday. She concealed knowledge. And in the concealing of knowledge, there's wisdom. Because if she spoke everything that she knew, her father would have been in danger. Quite literally, his life was in danger if she spoke everything, because her father's hiding under the floorboards of their house, and the Nazis have come to looking for her father who worked in the underground. That's a true story told to Trudy. We mentioned it on Sunday. She as an 8-year-old is not lying, she's concealing knowledge. And in times, there is times to conceal knowledge. When the spies went to Jericho, and then they were sought after, and they came to look for him, Rahab, what would seem, lied. But she didn't lie. She concealed knowledge. She was protecting she wasn't giving away the knowledge of where the spies are, and they went off, and they went the other way, and she protected them. She concealed knowledge. There is some knowledge that we should never conceal. And again, this is wisdom to know when to conceal or when not to conceal. The gospel is something that you should never conceal. That's knowledge that everyone should know. Go tell the gospel. Go tell people that there's a God. They're going to stand before a holy God. Jesus is the Savior. Go tell them. That knowledge should be told. But there are things that should not be told. But there are also things that should not be concealed. There is ministry in America, and this pastor, thousands of people in this church, and the motto of the pastor was this: if I didn't see it, it didn't happen. So people would come to him and tell him about this problem. His son was getting up all kinds of mischief in the youth department, and other staff members and church members, and he would just say, I didn't see it, didn't happen, you're just gossiping, and he'd shut it down. But there are things that should be revealed. You can't just sweep things under the carpet and just pretend like we're not going to tell anyone. Don't ask, don't tell. There are things that should be told. Child abuse are things that should be told. These are things that should be revealed. You can't just keep these secrets in. Some things have to be told. He says, but a wise person knows when to speak, when not to speak. When to conceal and when to reveal. And he says, a prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. Here's one for you. I was chatting with someone today, and we were talking about church life, and we've both been around churches for a number of years. And church life has a way of having ups and downs. If you stay around church for any amounts of time, churches are filled with drama. And I praise God for a good stint that God has given us a good patch of good lack of drama or whatever the right word is, scandal-free and things like that. But scandals and things like that happens in churches and different things, and we've been around, and families do this and families do that, and then there's cliques and there's groups and there's all these different things that can happen. And the temptation is to talk about the dramas of church around the kitchen table with your kids, right? This is a common thing, to talk about it with your kids. If you talk about the problems of church with your kids, they don't need to know all maybe the dramas of something that's taking place. The kids don't need to know some things. Not to say that they're not important, but your kids don't need to know. If there are dramas going on. A pastor in California, he said, I'm very thankful that I hid, and his kids are grown up and they're in ministry and they're serving God. And he had this list of 10 things that he would encourage people to do that he did, that he thanks God that someone gave him the wisdom to do it. One of those was that he chose not to talk about the negativities of the ministry with his kids. And he chose rather to tell them the positive, not to spin them a lie, but he withheld from them the hurts that people can do, and the things that have happened, and the things. And as they got older, they learned about them, but they learned about them in a right way. But there are other people who have talked about the negativities of church to their kids all the way through, and guess what? Their kids have despised church and said, what a bunch of hypocrites, what of this, what of that. Churches are filled with sinners and filled with problems. And there are some things that should be concealed from children, and a prudent person knows, right? You know what? I'm not going to talk about these things with my kids. I actually want to give them I want them to grow up to love the house of God, and they can learn about it as they grow older, about the challenges that come from churches, and just being close as a spiritual family, and the natural flesh and the issues that arise. But conceal some things. Your children don't need to know every issue and problem that ever happens and arises. And so that know when to conceal and know when to reveal. But he says here, a prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of the fools proclaimeth foolishness. So I don't just speak everything that, hiding knowledge, certain knowledge is good. Find a prayer partner or two this evening, and bring the requests before the Lord, and then dismiss yourself quietly to the supper room.